Hello. Welcome to WeluvLa, where we talk about fun, freedom, and fulfillment. My name is Sheena, and I am your host today. First and foremost, I always like to acknowledge the music that I have playing in the background. I am playing artist Why So Not. I do not own the rights to any of the music. I do not own any of the rights. But I do want to acknowledge who they are and give them a great shout out. So, again, welcome. And today it is the 19th of August. We are almost halfway through the second quarter of 2020. And here we are talking about still quarantine and COVID and all of these things like that. And I'm not for sure where people are. Hi sis, welcome. But again, we talk about fun, freedom, and fulfillment. I call myself a life concierge because I do a lot of referring, a lot of sharing, a lot of explaining or expressing how things or my experiences and things like that. So I love to give lots of recognition, shout out, referrals, sharing my own experiences, how I come up with the name WeluvLa. I am born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Actually had 7 years of experience of middle school and high school in Georgia, so I call myself a Cali Peach. But I love LA. This is my home. This is everything that I know. So any kind of nooks and crannies, any little secret things about Los Angeles, I love to talk about it. And so on my journey going through my experiences with work, experiences with finding things, I'm still a tourist in my own city, so I like to share my journey and my explorations. And so today the topic of what we're going to talk about is money, that moolah, that dinero, pesos, yens, pounds, whatever kind of currency that you want to be able to recognize it with. Hey, what's up, welcome. So I started reading a book this past weekend. The book is called 7 Money Myths That Are Killing Your Wealth Potential. And so what it talk about is money secrets you wish you knew. So what got me into reading that book was I ended up buying it off of like Apple or iTunes like a long time ago, and I just caught myself scrolling through it, and I'm like, oh, this looks like this is an easy read. The author of the book is Weinhold. So if anybody is interested in purchasing the book, or if you want me to share the book to you, hit me up in the DM or hit the double tap or leave a comment that you will like the book. But it's a really, really good, easy read, and it talks about some really good stuff. But in the midst of reading this book, it made me start to think about what are a lot of people out here doing. 95% of the people don't have any kind of financial education or understanding about money or what to do with it. And so there was a couple of questions that a couple of friends and I and myself, we ended up coming up with. Instead of just throwing the information at people, maybe we should start asking the questions on what it is that piques the interest of that person. I know because of what's happening, we have about I think it's about 43 million people in America that are listed as unemployed. And so because of this whole unemployment rate that is just skyrocket to, unheard of numbers, I think this was a conversation that was really, really needed. And so the questions that I wanted to share with you guys is very important. Maybe something that we could really ask ourselves, because with the unemployment rate being so high, a lot of people, they're money motivated to do some things that is just basically, I don't care what the job is, it's paying a lot of money. And a sidebar joke, I remember I came across a meme a few years ago where it was talking about if they were to pay you $10,000 an hour to pick cotton, would you pick cotton? Now, some people were like, that is offensive, but then some people were like, $10,000, I'll go and pick some cotton, $10,000 for an hour. So it's just like, what's the motivation, you know? So instead of, a lot of people that I know that they are in business for themselves, and people are out recruiting, instead of sharing what you think that might be interesting to them, maybe we should start asking the actual questions. So the questions that me and my peers had came up with was, what do you know about money? And that is a really good question, because for me, that question, prior to the information that I know now, I mean, what I know about money is you make it and you spend it, and you're supposed to save some. Money is a tool to buy the things that you want to do and have and need. So that was my understanding. But again, everybody have a different purpose and a reason. So that's a really good question to ask yourself, or to ask anybody, especially if we're going to be sharing some kind of an opportunity. The second question, what don't you know about money? Again, that's another good question, because what we don't know, we don't know. So we wouldn't even know how to answer that. Well, I mean, I really wouldn't know what not to know about money. But again, what is stopping you from making more money? Now, that is a good question. A lot of people probably will say, I have a job, or I'm working 2 jobs, I have kids, or I got responsibilities to where I really got to put my dreams to the side. It could be a series of things, but that is a great question, because once you start asking, you know, what is stopping you, now it makes that person think for themselves, like, well, why is this stopping me? I do need to do something else. And so now that can get their wheels turning for them to be more receptive to whatever information that you are trying to share with them. So that's a great idea. And then the last question is, what do you worry about when money comes? What do you worry about when it comes to money? So do you have any kind of worries about lack thereof, or not knowing what to do with it, or as soon as you get it, you spend it? So these are questions that's really, really important, because there are several things that we may or may not know. And in order for us to be able to succeed in our future endeavors, we have to ask ourselves what is important to us. And so what I wanted to share with you guys tonight is understanding that there is a difference in between 2 groups of people. Now, I have my whiteboard here. Excuse that the camera will be facing the opposite way. So just go along with me. You can kind of make sense to what I'm going to write, but I'm going to speak it out as well. So what I want to talk about is the 5% versus the 95%. All right, so I'm not for sure if you can really see that, but this is 5% versus 95%. So I normally would like to ask the questions, what do you think is the difference between 5% versus 95%? And I get some answers, 5% of people are wealthy, another 95% are not, or 5% is, they have more than the 95, vice versa. I would just hear so much. So what it is, and everybody be right in their own way. But what it is that 5% of the population controls money. The 5% control money. The 95% is controlled by money. Now, you would hear and be like, controlled by money, how is that so? And how is it that the 5% controls the 95 controls money? Because the 5% controls 95% of the wealth. Because 95% of the people, which I am still in the 95%, but I'm working my way over here, we are controlled by money. And how is that possible? Let's just say we lose our job, we get sick, something happened to where we do not have an income coming in anymore. If we are worried about our bills not being paid, if we're worried about how we're going to provide our next meal, all of those kind of worries, whenever worry comes about, that means we are controlled by the money, which means we have to get up, we have to go to work, we have to figure out a way how to make some money to make the ends meet. So that's how we are controlled by money. Now, what makes the 5% different from the 95%? What do they do differently? This is what they do. They know that when they get their income, the first thing that they do is save. And then after they save their money by paying themselves first, then they pay for their expenses. So in order to pay the expenses, this is the order that they do it. Get the income, then we're going to save the money by paying ourselves first. And then after we pay ourselves first, then we're going to pay our expenses, our bills. Everything else comes after that. Now, what do you think the 95% do? What do we normally do? We get our money, we get our income, we get paid. We got to pay those bills. Car notes due, rent is due on the first, so we pay our expenses first. And then after we pay our expenses, if there's anything left over, then we save. Maybe, put a couple of question marks there, we might save. So how can we flip this? How can we make this be better to where we're not being controlled by the money? Well, what the wealthy people know, the 5%, what they know to do is that they have to be able to save more. We have to be able to save a lot more money. You can save 10% of your income and you will live an okay life. If you was to save 20%, it's better. If you was to save 30%, you would live a good life. But the magic number is 40%. The wealthy people know they have to save 40% of their income to live an amazing life. Now, I looked at this number the first time. I'm like, well, wait a minute. How can I save 40% of my income? I don't make that much money just on my job alone. So what is it that I can do to save 40%? Well, this is how the wealthy people think. In order for them to be able to save 40%, the wealthy people know that they need to increase their savings by increasing their income. The wealthy people know that 5 to 7 streams of passive income is the only way for you to be able to save 40% of your income. Now, this is not saying that, oh, they don't have nice things. The 5%, they have nice stuff. Don't get it wrong. They have nice stuff, but what they know to do is before they go out and buy the nice stuff first, they want to make sure they're saving at 40%. And whatever is left over, then they go and buy the stuff that takes money out of their pockets. But what do you think we might be doing? How can the 95% increase our income? Well, get a second job. That'll increase your income, but then you're spending more time working somewhere else, which is less time for yourself, less time for your family. More taxes is being taken out of your paycheck, so really you're not gaining that much. Also, you might go back to school. Now, going back to school, that can give you that pay raise on your job, give you the promotion, but also you're creating more college debt, which means now, in order for you to increase your income by going to school, you are now increasing the expenses with college. Oh, I graduated. I deserve a new car. I deserve a vacation. Your expenses are still going up and still may not be nothing left to save. So if we continue this structure, we will eventually bankrupt. And the last thing we don't want to happen is for our own personal selves to have to bankrupt. And so understanding how to discipline yourself, myself, from following this situation, this is how we can get to this situation. And in this situation, as the 95%er, this is how they save not just for themselves, but they save for an emergency. They save for any kind of medical expenses. They save for legacy. Legacy, I talked about that in a couple of weeks ago. Legacy is not, I'm gonna leave this house behind and you gotta figure out how you're gonna pay the taxes on it, or no, legacy is really leaving something behind that can change the trajectory of your future kinfolk. Bible verse, Proverbs 13:22. A wise man leave an inheritance to his children's children, which means you have made so much of an impact and so much wealth that you have built within your family to where there is enough for your grandchildren to still be able to have. And that legacy of teaching your children, to teach your children's children, to continue the legacy through and through. So this is super important that we understand what are some of the things that is important to us. How can we change our financial situation? How can we change our future picture? What is it that we can actually do to force a discipline to start saving today? And so this is why I share this with you. So quick shout out and sidebar. I am part of the world's #1 VIP travel club, which is called World Ventures. Some people has probably already heard of it before or may not have. I can tell you that I have been on the most amazing trips. I've had so much fun, met some of the best people around the world. And once I started to really meet a lot of people and understand their backgrounds and what's going on, kind of heard that, a lot of us have a lot of similarities when it comes down to the knowledge of how do we save, where do we save, and that's very important. Where do you save? It's a big situation, because depending on where you save, that can have a big impact on your legacy as well. And so me being involved in this travel club, and I'm meeting so many amazing people, I realized that a lot of people decided to jump ship. And it wasn't about the company. It was about two things: time and money. A lot of my people, they did not have the money to travel. So they were not able to stay in the club. Also, if they didn't have the money, they did not have the time to travel. So they was not able to stay in the club. So in order to have a balance, it's only 5%. 5% has both time and money. So I made it my mission for my family and my friends and everybody that I know. How is it that we can have both time and money? How is it that we can go from the 95% over to the 5% and be able to do whatever we want, have financial freedom, have fully independence of freedom? You have time freedom, money freedom, freedom to do whatever you want. The first way of having freedom is understanding your money. Money is not the root of all evil, because if it was, we wouldn't be working for some of the people who we work for. Let's just say that. It's just that those people who we work for, they had the idea on what is it that they can do to take care of their family and monetize their time. Let me hire everybody else to do the job that I don't want to do. Nothing wrong with that. They are looking out for the best interest of their family, which we should all do the same if we care to do that. But at the end of the day, I want to share something amazing for us to all to be able to understand true freedom. And so I share this with you. If anybody have any questions or concerns, they want to have a little bit more understanding on their own financial picture, I am here to help. I'm here to share. You can DM me, double tap and like the video for today. Follow me at WeluvLa. Also follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Where We're Going Now She. And let's talk a little bit more personal on what are some of the goals that you are trying to accomplish. Are you trying to accomplish something this year, next month, maybe 3 or 5 years down the line? Let's make it happen. The first step is acknowledging that there may be a problem. And the second step is asking what could be done and how it can be better. And so that's how I share my love. That's my mission. Again, I want to make sure that all of my loved ones, my family, my friends, we are all able to not have any more worries. We're all able to just swipe our cards or go wherever we want without having to check the account, not having to worry, not having to stress about anything, and just being properly prepared for whatever may happen. And so I want to say good night. Thank you for joining me on my call tonight. Didn't want to keep everybody very long. Again, I am playing Why So Not. They're a really cool group, so check them out. Also, the book that I had recommended earlier, hey sis, the book that I had recommended earlier, 7 Money Myths That Are Killing Your Wealth Potential by Keith Weinhold. If you would like for me to share that to you, go ahead and hit me up on my DM and I can slide that book to you. Also, big shout outs to Why So Not and Keith Weinhold, because that's who I was speaking to today. Shout out to my sis Aisha, my sis Maite, welcome. And everybody else who joined on the call tonight. Just want to thank you for joining me. And be safe, everybody. Wash your hands. I'm telling you, I went to Vegas this weekend. I've seen so many people walk out of the restroom stalls without washing their hands. So all I say is everybody be careful, wash your hands, and do not use your fingers to touch anything. Use your knuckles and elbows. And be safe. Have a good night, everyone.